Welcome to yet another amazing episode of Pure Minds, Pure Energy, Enlightenment Sessions with Nate and PMC. I'm your host, Nate Zeleznick, founder of the Integrated Ascension Method and one of the only American master trainers of the ancient Indonesian breathwork, meditation, healing, energy building, and extrasensory art of Merpati Putih. Today, I'm honored to introduce a powerhouse in the world of meditation and women's empowerment, Katie Krimitsos. As founder and CEO of the Women's Meditation Network, Katie has created a family of 20 meditation podcasts that inspire millions to find peace, presence, and purpose. With an impressive 4 million monthly downloads, her meditations are helping people across the globe reduce their stress, sleep better, and live a more intentional life. Katie's journey from a transformative pause during her second pregnancy to building one of the most impactful meditation platforms is a testament to the beauty of self-discovery and embracing life's imperfections. Her authentic, relatable voice has made her a beacon of hope, healing, and resilience for countless women. So get ready to dive into the wisdom and the warmth of Katie Krimitsos as we explore the transformative power of meditation and purposeful living. Katie, it's an honor and blessing to have you here. Welcome to this show. Please tell the audience about yourself, your mission, your purpose.
Nate, thank you so much for having me here. I'm so grateful. You have such a way of making your guests just immediately sort of click into, out of like, we're doing a podcast interview and into like, hey, we're here to do something really great. So thank you so much for having me here. If you asked me to pinpoint why I'm here right now and what I'm doing with my network of podcasts, it is to bring meditation to women, kind of your modern day woman, easily, and make it easily accessible, make it relatable, so that she can use meditation as a path into herself. I'm such a firm believer that knowing ourselves is our number one job. And the more we know ourselves, the better we can actually create lives piece by piece that is not scripted for us, but scripted by us. So I've used the Women's Meditation Network for over 6 years now to do that. And it started with just one podcast called Meditation for Women, being able to produce like one meditation a week. And fast forward, we now have 20 podcasts that are part of that network. And most of them provide daily meditations. So I'm so proud of the team for being able to come together with this mission of really wanting to create meditation and tools that are impactful and go directly to the soul.
That is so beautiful. And you have a really fascinating story. How you came upon the idea for the Women's Meditation Network, I mean, it's fascinating to me. What really inspired you to make that shift? And most importantly, how has it changed your life?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm no stranger to podcasting. I'd been podcasting since 2012. And back then, I started a podcast called Biz Women Rock. And I was at least a handful of years into an entrepreneurial journey, which was completely out of the box from what I grew up with. That was very new. But I had fallen in love with entrepreneurship. I had fallen in love with the idea that we could really create and put forward our gifts in a way that helped people and provided prosperity. I loved that concept. And so, a few years into this journey, I was like, I want to have a podcast that interviews business women. And back then in 2012, I was one of 3 podcasts that existed back then that was hosted by a woman and spoke to women CEOs, women entrepreneurs. And so I did that for many years. And it kind of gave birth to this whole business of, being a business strategist to women all over the world, to providing masterminds, having courses, education, memberships. I mean, that whole thing was what I did. And in that time, I had my first child and sort of figured out how to do the mompreneur life. And I loved it. It was hard. It was the first time I was doing my own business by myself. But it was incredibly fulfilling fast forward, the beginning of 2018, I was in my flow, I was in my zone. I was projecting out how to triple my reach and triple my business. And, a few months into 2018, I was on my way there very powerfully, very intentionally. And in April, we found out we were pregnant with my second daughter. And just immediately, I can't explain, but if you've had divine moments, right? You've had these divine whispers that just all of a sudden come. There's no rhyme or reason for them that you can see at the time. And I just heard the divine speak to me and say, I'm done with this. I'm done. I'm completely done with this, which was very shocking and terrifying for me at the time because, that was a very big staple part of our lifestyle back then. And I loved it. So I was like, there's no rhyme or reason why I should want to be done with this. But I listened. I've had a lot of practice in all of my years listening to intuition, taking it seriously, listening to those whispers. So I took it seriously enough to kind of like pause everything for a while. I still kind of kept up with my show. I still kept up with clients that I had, but all of those things that I was planning to launch and to go, 100 miles a minute with, I just paused. And in that pause, I would go on walks with my husband every single day, and I would just sort of talk out what I was feeling. Like one day I'd be like, I can do this. I'm going to make it happen. I'm superwoman. I could totally do this with, two kids, a toddler and a baby. I can still reach that goal. And then the next day I'd be like, I'm done. I'm going to be a full-time mom. I'm not doing this business thing anymore. And on one particular day, a couple of weeks had passed of doing that. One particular day, we're walking, and I had just sort of like, cathartically gotten out the range of emotions. And my husband said to me, he said, what about that meditation idea? Now, to give reference, a few months prior, I had sort of done this brainstorm on what I could do to grow business that year, right? And one random idea was creating meditations for women. I didn't really do much with it at the time because it didn't really fit into my business model, but it was an idea enough to have started to do a little bit of research about it. And so I was like, well, what about the meditation idea? He's like, what about it? And that created just this opening of possibility. And it did not take me very long to start talking things out with him in a way that was like, I could see that this would be my next evolution of what I'm supposed to be doing in this world, of the impact I could have. I was going from kind of a small niche of women entrepreneurs to like women, which is still a niche, but a giant one. Like I kind of did the opposite of what business advice tells you. Like I casted a larger reach. And right away, I had this vision. I knew it was a network. I knew it wasn't just one show because I knew enough. I had done enough research to know that back in 2018, which was not so long ago, if you typed in your podcast player, meditation and women, one podcast existed. One other podcast existed. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. I can't believe this space is open. And I just knew, I was like, I have something to contribute here. I'm the person to do it. Everything that has been in my past has lined me up perfectly for this. Let's go. I had an enormous amount of imposter syndrome at the time because I'm not formally trained in any particular school of meditation. I'm a writer, and I knew I could write meditation scripts. I knew I could speak. I knew I could write the words and say the words that I knew women needed to hear. I knew I needed to hear, and I knew I could sort of package it in this really powerful, beautiful thing called a meditation. And so that's what I did. And within weeks, I had my very first podcast live, Meditation for Women, and the rest is history.
With everybody, your network is really dedicated to helping women find peace and helping them find their purpose. So what do you feel makes meditation such a powerful tool for this self-discovery and this intentional living? What's your experience?
Oh, that's such a great question. For any of us who have meditated at all before, we understand that the moment you intentionally pause, the moment you intentionally come into presence as much as you can, you start seeing what's not presence. You start seeing those thoughts. You start seeing the hamster wheel of thoughts and emotions. And so I just believe meditation is is such a powerful practice to separate yourself from the normal daily humdrum rat race, fast movement of the script that we're living. And as soon as you can separate from those, then you start asking yourself, like, wait a minute, all those thoughts that I had about the daily things I need to get done, or about this worry that I'm having of what's going to happen this week, or this regret I'm having from, what happened last week. As soon as I start separating from myself, from those things, now there's this obvious question, which is, who am I that is noticing those things that I'm now separate from? And so for me, that's the juice right there. Because as soon as you can start noticing the separation between all of the things, what I call the separation between the noise and the voice. And so once you can start noticing the noise, you start turning around and looking inward, and you can hear the voice. And you can start seeing who you truly are. And in my humble opinion, there's incredible power in that. There's incredible connection in that to self and others. And now we get to a space where we can start making decisions that are guided from divine, that are guided from our hearts, instead of the noise, which is what all of us succumb to, right? So I love it. I sort of feel like I'll hold the carrot of meditation in front of you. Like, yeah, come get better sleep. Yeah, come feel more calm. Of course, those are great things. Come lower your blood pressure. Come, relax your nervous system. I'm going to tell you all those benefits that are very real. But to me, that's just the carrot of what's actually there when you really practice meditation, which is knowing one's self, being aware of oneself, being connected to your true nature, which is where everything else flows from.
Could not agree more with you. For so many years, I've been talking to people about the difference between being a human being and a human doing. And for me, meditation helps me remember more of who I am. And honestly, if you're going to find out your life's purpose, how can you do that if you're always talking and never listening? The founder of the Pyramid Spiritual Society movement, his name was Patriji, and I have pyramids all over my house, but the pyramid meditation and using the scalar energy of the pyramids to affect the brain and affect the energy system of the body is truly amazing. And it's something that helps people go a little bit, actually a lot deeper, a lot quicker. But two of his very, very, for me, most powerful phrases was meditate daily and be with your breath, because that's what we come in with, that's what we leave with, and in between it's the thing that can actually bring us into presence and awareness. Fastest for me. So, for you though, with over 4 million monthly downloads, holy mackerel, that's amazing. That's across multiple podcasts. You've touched so many people's lives, Katie. It's just so inspiring to me. Can you share like a memorable story or like feedback from somebody that really deeply impacted you?
I mean, regularly, every single week, I'm getting listeners reaching out, just expressing their gratitude for finding the podcasts and what it's meant for them. I can absolutely still remember my very first email I got, but I'm going to refer, it's similar to this most recent email that I got. This happened just about a week ago, where a longtime listener reached out and she said, I love you. I've been listening to you for years. I don't think you truly understand how much you have impacted my life. I feel you. I feel like you're talking to me. And she just described a very dark situation that she had been in, just abuse, self, not feeling good about herself, just kind of all of the darkness. And she just said, I listen to you every single day and sometimes every single night just to remind myself that I'm truly light and that everything's going to be okay. And no matter how dark it gets, I'm here and I'm going to be okay. And stuff like that just melts me. Yes, because, I create these because I'm a creator and I have to create them, if I don't create them, it's stifling, right? So I'm having to create them. And then when I hear that, that's just like the oil that continues to like lubricate the engine, you know, like, yes, like we're doing something right. And I'm doing it because I have something to fulfill, and my team, each in their own little way as they contribute, have their gifts to contribute, and it's landing in a way that's actually really making a difference. So yeah, it's really powerful, and I never get tired of hearing it. And to me, I think we do all different kinds of meditations, and I believe in every kind of meditation, because every kind, every school, every mudra, every, breath exercise, like no matter what it is, it's going to touch somebody differently. Somebody's going to really connect with certain types than others. And so we offer what I consider your kind of traditional meditations, right? So like things that you would find in meditation speak kind of circles, like, your chakra meditations and, your body relaxation meditations. But I think one of the things that makes us so unique is my desire to write, and to write poetry for the women listening. And so if you listen, you can find this especially on my Meditation for Women podcast, but obviously you'll see it everywhere else. You will hear me tell a story in a very poetic way. And so to me, those words mean a lot. And my producer, who I joke with him that we're, like Paul McCartney and John Lennon, like we're just creating this beautiful, like artistic masterpiece, because he will find music and sound effects that really embody the words that I'm trying to say. So in many ways, I actually consider these very much like songs, very, very much like music, like I want to say something really special to you. I want to say it in a very poetic and beautiful way. And I want it to be, I want it to be wrapped in an experience that touches you, So I think that there's something a little unique in that I feel is like our special spark.
I couldn't agree with you more. And music is definitely, as a classically trained musician, I was a clarinetist for 9 years, full scholarship to college. Music has a very special spot in my heart, but it's, honestly, that might be one of the most original things that has drawn people together since time immemorial. Somebody taking a stick and beating on a log, there you have a drum, and doing it in a rhythm. That really helps us not only to find more of ourselves, for me, but also it can't be denied that it helps people get into a common coherence throughout people, because just go look at any concert and everybody's going at the same time. Look at any tribal dance. Look at if you watch, say, in Indian culture, as soon as the sitar starts playing, people start going. And so, that's an amazing thing. A couple things that you mentioned I wanted to touch upon. Have you ever heard of something called precession? Okay, so Mr. Fuller, he was considered the Da Vinci of the modern era. He had 50 doctorate degrees. Well, he really coined this phrase, precession. And so when you were talking about these emails that come in that really touch you, precession is the understanding that all of our actions, while we're going forward in our life at 90 degrees where we can't even see it, we're creating an impact, a wake behind us. And you just don't know how your kind words or your insight or just the ability to listen and have a kind ear for someone. I've had numerous people as well come and say, you saved my life just because you were willing to listen, and I was going to take my life. And you just don't know. But the thing is when you follow your heart and you always do the thing that you feel is right for you, and you're really listening, and meditation helps us get to that place where we can actually hear ourselves feel, not think, hear ourselves feel. The procession that each of us has on the world around us, we will likely never know how great our influence and how great it is and how far it expands. But that's an interesting thing for those people who believe in karma and also the law of reciprocity and attraction, those ones, that what you give out is what you get back. So the thing is that even if you don't get it back, it's always important to just keep giving, because when you give love, all that remains is more love, And so when you mentioned using different kinds of meditations, I work a lot in the neuroscience field as well with sound technicians and neuroplasticians. And it's very interesting that different meditations actually create different brainwave states. So a Zen Buddhist monk, they may be in a deep theta, but a shaman doing the drumming and or plant medicines or whatever they might be doing, they might be in a mid-alpha. It's so interesting that different meditations create different brainwave states. So it's important to actually do more than just one, because life is for living. We're here to experience. That's why we came onto the planet, to have experience. We can't shut it off. It's ongoing, and it might as well have as many as we can. But when it comes to meditation, for me, having that variety, that's such an important thing to really, I mean, how will you find out what really speaks to you if you only ever, let's say, eat broccoli and chicken? You'll never know what it's like to eat, satay or fettuccine, or, that thing. And I think that a lot of people do get very indoctrinated in the dogma of just a certain Kriya meditation or a certain Zen Buddhist meditation. And that's the only thing that they think is the one. But, we're all on our way up the mountain. There are many roads to Zion. And finding that one for us, that's why what you're doing is so valuable. And to that point, meditation can really sometimes feel kind of intimidating for people, or they don't know where to start, or it's out of reach for beginners. So, Katie, what advice do you have for someone just starting their journey, or maybe they're struggling to make it a habit for them?
Yeah. Oh, man. To encircle this whole point, that's part of why I take the approach that I do, is because I want meditation to be approachable. I don't want it to be scary. I want you to identify, I want you to see the title and be like, oh yeah, when you're feeling overwhelmed and overstimulated, yes, I want that meditation. Or when you're in a fight with your spouse, yes, I want that. Or mommy needs a timeout. These are all titles of my meditations. I'm not saying they're all like this, but the titles of my meditations, and therefore the content of them, are specifically engineered to be clickable, easily, yes, that's what I'm feeling, or yes, that's how I want to feel. So, because I too am very much like you, I just want people to step inside. I just want people to practice. I mean, we've both been doing this a long time, and we're still practitioners at the end of the day. We're still in our own practice of doing this very imperfectly, continuing to sort of find our way and mold our own practice, right? So, especially for those who might be struggling to either come back to a meditation practice or to start a meditation practice, one of the best pieces of advice I love sharing is there's two pieces of advice. One is to make meditation easy. So there are two ways you could do that. Number one is you find guided meditations. This is why I create them. I love guided meditations because I don't have to do anything. All I have to do as a listener is press play, sit back, and let the guide me through this experience, right? Am I still going to have the thoughts racing? Absolutely. But is it going to feel a little easier than just sitting quietly and waiting for my alarm to go off after 10 minutes? Yes. So finding guided meditations. I have a ton. I know Nate has a ton. You got plenty of them at your fingertips. The second advice that I would give is to baby step into meditation by doing things that I like to call mini meditations. Mini meditations are moments throughout your day when you can, instead of doing a formal sit down or lay down meditation, but moments throughout your day where you can just pause and consciously choose to step outside of the movement of the day for just a second. So just pause. And in that pausing, it can be just a return to your breath. I love breath work as sort of the portal to come back to presence. I think that's a common theme in all meditations for the most part. So using your breath, taking 3 deep breaths. This is a mini meditation. 3 deep conscious breaths. That means you're actually counting and aware of how many in-breaths you're taking and how many out-breaths you're taking, right? When you're in the shower, can you pause instead of going through the list of all the things you need to do for that day? Can you just pause for a moment, come into your breath, and notice the water coming onto your body? Become aware of its warmth or its coldness. Can you feel it sort of going down your body? And in the noticing of whatever activity it is, In the noticing, can you easily come into a space of presence and therefore gratitude for where you are right now? This could be as easy as like, you're dropping your kids off at school for the day and you come back home. Can you, instead of like rushing into the house and getting into the day's activities, can you just take a couple breaths and stay there for a few moments? Have a mini meditation with yourself, and in that, come to presence and come into a space of a noticing, which then easily, sort of tumbles into a space of gratitude for this moment. And if you practice doing more and more of those throughout the day, to me, this is like the foundational concept of meditation, right? You're doing that more often, and you're extracting yourself from the normal daily, movement, so that you can be really aware. And in those moments, it becomes really obvious, like, what do I need? What do I need? This is my favorite question to ask myself in these mini meditations, or any pause that you have throughout the day. What do I need right now? What do I need right now? And it becomes a really great practice to then listen to that inner voice. And I'll give you a quick real life example. Yesterday, I woke up and I have 2 young kids. I immediately get into mom mode of like fixing lunches, doing all the things, getting them off to school. We have pets. And so it's like getting the pets ready, getting everyone into the car, let's go. And, we live kind of a ways away from their school. Round trip, I get back and I'm exhausted. Like, I don't know why I shouldn't be, but I'm tired and my mind just won't focus. I'm sitting down trying to like do work, and it's just, those moments where it's just not happening. And so instead what I did is I did a mini meditation. I just sat there and I took like 5 deep breaths. My hand was on my heart. My other hand was on my belly, just to like bring myself into my physical self, right? To bring myself into presence. And in that moment, I was like, you need a day of rest. You need a day of rest. Stop trying to check things off a list. You need a day of rest. And because I've had the practice and I continue to practice listening to that intuition, I trust her. I'm like, okay. So like, I, messaged my team member who I was supposed to meet that day. And I was like, today's a mental health day. I'll meet you tomorrow. And today has been like, getting stuff done and like back in the energy, and it feels so good. And I say that because there have been times in my past, and still sometimes, where I ignore that little voice, or I'm trying to push through, and that can easily lead to burnout, or just you're not actually being efficient with your time. So it's just one small realistic example of how we can use meditation in general, but specifically these little mini meditations as an opportunity to kind of make decisions and steer ourselves in the way that we need to go at any given moment.
And that's the interesting thing, is that so many people get into kind of a formulary type of rhythm that I can only meditate if I have my cushion. I can only meditate if I have my pyramid in my head. I can only meditate if I have the right incense, or the right instructor, or the right music playing in the background. No, the thing is that every moment can be a meditation. It's just bringing ourselves to that awareness, right? And for me, and for many people, like you mentioned with breath work, being with our breath is the easiest, fastest way to bring us back to presence, for a couple different reasons, in my opinion. And by all means, everybody out there watching, type in the comments if you feel differently than this. But when we breathe, we're giving ourselves life force continually every single time. The prana and the chi, or chi, however you want to call it, comes in with every single breath. And it's also something that reminds us of our mortality, because if you go for a few minutes without breathing, you really notice your body says, we need to breathe. And so as the life, this breath of life that is coming into us, when we start to hone in on that, and we start, I love what you said there with what do I need right now? What do I need right now? That's an extremely powerful self-awareness. I usually, for my students and people, I ask them to do 2 things. Ask 2 questions. Where am I? And what time is it? Because no matter where you are, you're here. And no matter what time it is, it's now. So once we just ask ourselves, where am I? What time is it? Oh, it's here and now. I bring myself to But going a step further, I love what you just said, Katie, about the what do I need right now? Because once you bring yourself back to awareness, then it's time to check in and say, okay, well, since I am an unlimited, eternal, immortal being, well, I can choose anything that I prefer in this moment or any other. So rather than just going on to the next, and I'll be the first person to step right up and say, yes, I have been, I'll say guilty, even though I don't feel guilty, but I've been guilty of being very achievement oriented and checking things off on the list and going from one to the next and then getting to the end of the day and go, I did it. I got it. Oh, okay. So what are the check marks for tomorrow? And when you get so used to doing that, it can be such a struggle to then just sit down and go, I'm not doing anything. But in actuality, you're doing everything. Which,
Yes.
so with
Oh, that's so beautiful.
well, with your wellness day, that's such an important thing. And I know we're talking about the Women's Meditation Network, but especially for men, where a lot of times we just get so high strung and just production oriented, and we never take the opportunity, not never, but rarely take the opportunity to just sit down and actually ask ourselves, like, what do I need right now? Because they're much better at caring for themselves and others than men are, just as a whole in general. So when you mentioned awareness in every given moment, like when you're in the shower. So for those of you out there who are a little bit more hardcore, something I like to do, because I'm definitely a big fan, and this actually brings you to very powerful awareness, especially if you use your breath, is turn on the cold water. Cold as you.
We got like a little mini cold plunge right there.
It's worse than a cold plunge, because at least with the cold plunge, your body creates heat just around your body. When you're in a shower, it just strips everything from you. So it is not comfortable. It's never comfortable, but it is amazing how you feel when you're done, because your body has so much energy and heat coming off of it. But when you're doing it, to be breathing and to be in control, that is something that in this world where there are so many people that feel like their life is out of their control, and they feel like they're a victim of their circumstances, that they can't control the weather, they can't control the pollution that's out there, they can't control the government, they can't control maybe even their spouse or their kids or the school that the kids go to. There's so many things that it can appear that it's not within our control, that when we take that opportunity to control us, no matter what, that empowers us, because that's kind of like making your bed. If you make your bed in the morning, even if you have a crappy day, at least you started off with a win, and at least you get to come home and slip into a nice made bed, no matter what. So these little wins, like you said, mini meditations are so important. And so thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. And I really like how you so often speak about the beauty of imperfection and slowing down. So how is embracing these principles, how have they really helped you, not just as a mom, but also as an entrepreneur?
Oh man. I think one of the things that I really enjoy leaning into in the creation of these meditations, and most especially in the sharing of these with other people, is how it's like, I really like showing how imperfect I am. I really love showing, this is the first time I've put on makeup and dressed myself up in a long time. Like, I love showing, this is the reality. Like, you can see my closet behind me. Like, I had to move some clothes out of the way, right? Like, I love showing how messy life is, because that's real. It's very real. I am not the person who's going to sit up here and tell you, you must meditate. And when you do it this way and you follow this formula, life all of a sudden becomes perfect and magical and you're peaceful all the time. Inner peace is really what we have available to us all the time. And yet we live in a very human world, in a human body. And so we are challenged, or, we're dancing with these human experiences, the human emotions, the triggers that come out. So the way that it's impacted me most as a mother, as a wife, as someone who feels like I have something to do here in this world, as a creator, most especially as a business owner, is the heart of why I create these, that I am knowing myself through these. I'm knowing myself better and better every single day. And so it is given me an enormous amount of strength and courage to make decisions that are 100% made by me and not by anyone else. And I don't do this perfectly. However, I know what my true north is. And the more that I really continue to tune in, to strip away, the expectations, my expectations, other people's expectations, the world's expectations. What am I supposed to be doing or looking like or going towards as somebody who does this or as a mother? I'll give you two very real examples. So I have two kids. One is 9 and one's about to be 6. And we just, during the summer, we just moved away for about a half an hour north of where we used to live. But because at the time I couldn't manage that many changes, I was like, I'm just keeping the kids in the school where they are right now. We'll do the drive every day and we'll figure it out. The kids were at 2 different schools, and since August, we have been doing this drive. They have staggered schedules, meaning we could drop the first one off at this time, but then there was this 40-minute wait until we could drop the second one off. And then after school is sort of the same thing. So it didn't take very long for me to feel the discomfort of how yucky that felt. And I'm not just talking about how much time it took, because that was insane, 3 to 4 hours in a car a day. That's not cool, right? But there was just this, it didn't feel good of how they were getting schooled. My oldest daughter, how she, it didn't feel good what she was experiencing, and it didn't feel good for our family and for the values that we have and why we moved. We moved so we could have more space. We have a lot more land here where we live. And so I was like, we're never home. My kids are never home. We're rushing from place to place. It always feels like a rush. So to make a very long story short, we 3 weeks ago moved my oldest daughter to my youngest daughter's school. It's a small private school. It's still down in that area, but now there's one schedule. Things are a lot more efficient. And because it's a small private school with kind of a different way of doing things, academically, socially, artistically, both of my kids are flourishing in this environment. So I say that because it's not normal to, quote unquote, normal to move your kid halfway through the semester to a different school. But because I was just attuned, and I got her involved in the process too. I was like, hey, here's our choices. Here's the choices. We're going to make this decision as a family. Here's the pros and cons. Let's talk about it. And so, there was a moment when I gave the decision to her, and I was like, why don't you sit and meditate on it? And I can't say that I did this perfectly. I was again, messy. My husband was out of town. So I was like, hey, go over here and just take a couple deep breaths and ask yourself the question so your intuition can tell you what your answer is. Do you want this or do you want this? And I should have been there with her, but my youngest was needing mom's attention. So I was over there with the youngest. But my oldest comes back to me. She's like, I want to move schools. I was like, okay, let's do it. So that's one real example of I didn't need to follow anyone else's version of norm. I didn't need to follow anyone else's version of what I should or shouldn't do. It was my choice for us and the values that we have as a family. The second example as it relates to business is, on a macro scale, 6 years ago, when I started the Women's Meditation Network, it grew really fast, really big. It was within 2 or 3, I shouldn't say that. We existed about a year and a half before COVID started. And then when COVID started, it took off for obvious reasons, right? Which was a huge blessing. And instead of pausing the way that, we were all told that we should have during COVID, I was like, oh no, this is time to sprint. People need this. I need to do more. So, within a year, I went from 1 podcast to 4, within a year. And then I've expanded every year since then. So, we've gradually had this great increase. At some point, and I can't tell you when, because I've only really become aware of this. And again, this is the beauty of constantly coming into self-awareness and touching base with what my soul now knows, right? It became obvious to me recently, there was a moment in that process when I went from excitement, creation, oh my gosh, gratitude that we're experiencing all this quote unquote success, to a shift of energy of like, oh my God, I got to keep up. Oh my God, I got to keep up. I got to keep up. I got to keep up, because we've now reached this level of success. What happened, kind of unbeknownst to my awareness until recently, was I started making decisions out of fear. And I started saying no to things. I kind of shrunk. I got really quiet. I was like, I don't want to do interviews. I don't want my kids to be on social media. Like, no, like I just want to be in my closet and I want to do my little thing and keep it out there. I don't want to expand. I don't want to do all this other stuff. I just want to keep status quo. Now, I wouldn't have been able to say that at the time, but I can now notice like, wow, isn't that interesting? Like I started making decisions little by little micro decisions that were all coming from a space of fear of needing to keep it up. And so it's only been a couple of months ago that I've sort of started identifying this, because I got into a space of like, what am I doing? Do I really want to do this anymore? Like, what am I doing? What am I doing here? Do I, during the summer, it was sort of like, I just want to like let it all go and just be a homesteader on my farm with my girls. But then I was like, wait a minute, that's kind of a level of escapism, right? Like, let me actually look at what's here. And in that, I was like, oh no, I've got fire here. I can recognize that pattern. I can recognize the fears. I can recognize why I had those fears. I can forgive myself for those. And I can now, to your point, change at any moment I want. I can choose different choices that come from a space of love and belief and expansion. And so I started a couple months ago, I started making new decisions that has put the business on hyperdrive, creating stuff I have been wanting to create for years, but I was too busy to do, right? Like, and things are churning and burning in the best of ways, because my energy is aligned with love and creation and belief and faith, because I know that I'm clicked into place. I know I'm here to do this right now, and I will continue to come in and ask myself, let me recalibrate. Am I here? Let me recalibrate. Where am I going? So those are two very practical examples of this deep level of self-awareness that continue to come from a very imperfect but powerful meditation practice of tuning in. And that's the power of it. So I continue to sort of piecemeal this life together that allows me to let it be mine and not anyone else's, whether I'm conscious of that expectation or not. And it makes things more exciting. It feels, quote unquote, from the outside, it looks risky, but I'm like, I've always lived a life this way. Like I've always, quote unquote, done risky things. But so let me not just like surrender to the river that I feel like life is supposed to take me down. No. That is not me. I'm going to create my own little path, and the water's going to follow me. Like that's me. So
I love that. And there are a lot of people out there that maybe they really want that, but they may not know how to do that, or maybe they're a little bit afraid. And I know that you would be able to help them. So Katie, how can people find you and get involved for themselves and also help your mission grow?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. It's super easy. Start meditating with me, and you can do that by, pulling up whatever podcast app you listen to, or going to womensmeditationnetwork.com and search Women's Meditation Network, or search for meditation for women, or sleep meditation for women, or meditation for anxiety, like morning meditation for women. We have it all. I do have other voices, other guides who are part of the network. So you will hear other people other than me, because they all have their beautiful gifts that they are bringing. And come meditate with us and experience what it's like. And if you really love it and you enjoy it, share it with friends, and reach out and let me know how the meditations really are landing with you.
That's so beautiful. As we wrap up this episode, I just want to say one more time, thank you so much for being here. What is one piece of advice or encouragement that you'd like to leave the viewers and the listeners with today?
One piece of advice is to, we spoke a little bit about this earlier, but I would give it again and give it a little bit more meat. Don't allow meditation to live in a box. It can be whatever you want it to be. Mini meditation is one example. Being out in nature, going on a nature walk is another example. Do whatever you can to find opportunities to pause. Anything.
I love that so much. And in today's hectic 5-second attention span world, we need that. It's not just a want, it is actually a need for our body, for our life. So, Katie, once again, thank you so much for being here. And for everybody out there who's been watching, please go to womensmeditationnetwork.com. Check out this podcast. Check out any of Katie's things. We know this is a PMC. We're about meditation. We're about what it does for us on every single level. And for some of you out there, you've been doing this since you were a toddler. And maybe this is an opportunity for you to expand even farther. I know it will be. Please make sure that you follow, you subscribe, you like, definitely comment on this and send a message to Katie about how you are benefiting from what she's bringing, because it's not often that we get a chance in our life to come across somebody who is so devoted to helping so many people. Patriji, throughout his whole life, was helping people. And that's one of the reasons why we follow his teachings, because we understand what it means when somebody is willing to give so much of themselves to help us, even if they don't know us. So make sure you follow Katie. Make sure you follow the Pure Minds, Pure Energy series and PMC and the Integrated Ascension Method. And we'll see you on the next episode with another amazing guest. Much love and power to all of you. Have a great now on purpose.
Hey, my friends, what an incredible journey we've shared today. If you felt even a spark of inspiration or power, don't let it stop here. Take a moment to hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this with someone who needs it. Seriously, think of just one person who could benefit from what you've experienced today, because together we're building something so much bigger than ourselves. This is more than a show. It's a movement, a space where leaders, visionaries, and seekers like you come to transform, elevate, and align. So don't just follow, become a part of the community. Subscribe to the PMC YouTube channel and follow the I Am Integrated Ascension Method everywhere you can. And let's create something extraordinary together. I'm truly excited to share with you your next step to transformation. So head over to iampure.energy and sign up for my free Perfect Breath class. You'll unlock the secret to mastering your breath, your energy, and ultimately your life. And for those who are ready to go deeper, our masterclass and weekly sessions are waiting to take you to that next level. Make sure that you're here next week because, as always, I'll be sitting down with another world-changing guest, someone who will blow your mind and give you tools to rise even higher. And don't come alone. Invite your friends, your team, or anyone who's ready to grow. And let's expand this circle of impact one breath at a time. Until then, remember, your potential is limitless, your power is real, and it all begins with a single breath. Together, we're creating the future. I'll see you next time, my friend. Together we rise. See you soon.